Hello, my name is Peter Parfitt. Welcome to the New Brick Workshop. You're probably wondering what I'm up to. Well, I'm preparing the base for a shed. Now, if you can imagine, the shed is going to have its front here, facing that way. Its long side will be here. You may just be able to see a peg over in this corner here, which will be roughly where the back is. And what I'm doing now is preparing the ground. You can probably see that the ground slopes upwards as it goes away from me. The shed has to be level. So what I'm doing is I'm digging down in the whole area where the shed is going to go to prepare a level base. That means I've got to do a little bit of retaining work at the back to keep what will be a little grassy bank from collapsing in towards the shed. I need to have a gap from the edge of that embankment to give some space between it and the shed so that there's no buildup of any soil, plants or whatever against the side of the shed. Because of the unique nature of the soil around here, it's flint mostly, what I'm doing is I'm digging it out, I'm sieving to get the decent topsoil part out of it, and the stones I'm putting to one side. And whilst I'm doing the shiddling, as they call it in some parts of England, using the sieve to separate the stones from the topsoil, I'm also taking the organic matter out. There are lots of dead, rotten tree roots and things like that in there, and that's going in the garden waste. Now, if you look over this side, I've started to dig what will become a soakaway. Now, it's really important if you're going to put a shed somewhere in the garden to think about what will happen to the rainwater that falls on its roof. You could just let it fall straight to the ground all around it, but in time that water will damage the sides of the shed. It is far better, if you can, to have guttering and take that water away. Now, you could conserve the water by having a water butt, so I'm just going to have a normal soakaway. Now, I reckon it should be good enough, it won't be perfect, it should be good enough if I go down about just over ½ a metre along the length what will be at the rear of the shed here. And all these stones that I'm taking out, I'm going to make sure they're clean of any organic matter, and I'm going to then tip them in to the trench once it's prepared. And I'm not sure if I'll then put some form of substrate across and then some soil and grass on top, or whether I'll continue what will be the part of the foundation, which is a gravel base underneath the shed and at the sides. So I may do that so it appears to be gravel here. Now, if you imagine that the side of the shed, which will be over here, will be in this sort of line here, I'm clearing out by about 40 centimetres the ground around here, and that will be brought down to the same level as the base under the shed. I'll then have a retaining piece of wood along here, and that will help retain this bank, and there'll then be a gap between it and the shed so that there'll be no growth of vegetable matter, grass, weeds or whatever up against the shed. And that retaining structure will come round the corner here and continue down in this direction just a little bit, just so the whole thing looks tidy. Now, I'm doing this on my iPhone, so please forgive me if I'm a bit wiggly. You can see I've set up my MFT3 as a cutting station, and I've got the MW1000 to its left for support. Now I'm using the path fence along the MFT3, a couple of the path super dogs, as you can see, and I'm into battery power with my saw, as also you can see. Now, the area under the shed has been prepared just about, and you can see that I've been quite busy. I've taken away several tons of sieved soil, and I've put back the stones and then whacked them down. Unfortunately, I didn't have a whacker plate. I had to use a thumper. It took a long time. To the right, you can see the soakaway area. It's not finished yet. It's going to be sorted out. The pegs which are in line there are where the back of the shed will be, and there will be a board about 6 inches to the right of those, which will then retain a little bit of gravel, and then to the right of that, over the soakaway, I'll restore that to grass. Right, I've just finished putting in the pieces which will define the area around the shed where I'm going to have some gravel. Shed will be about here all the way around, and there'll be gravel in between. And this wooden surround gives the ability to mow right up to the edge with no problem at all. Remember, the soakaway is going to be reinstated as grass and will be soakaway down below, and I've got a similar arrangement on the other side. Well, I'm now just making up the frame which will be beneath the shed, and this will sit on some slabs over on the site. And the importance of this bit is that it needs to be tough, strong, and really a little bit weatherproof in case you get water running underneath. So I've given this a treatment of saddling, and I've also used tannalized timber. And I'm not cutting any corners. I'm using these Spax screws, which I got recently from Axminster. I've bought so many of these now, I'm losing count of it, but they're really, really good. Well, there's the base done. I've got those little concrete slabs. They're actually all curbstone things, which are supporting all the way around the outside. Underneath the black plastic there are some more that support the frame, and then the black plastic goes on top, and then the frame sits on that. And you can see I've made allowance for my electricity supply to come in. Those two slabs which are proud there will be part of the ramp that will allow me to get the lawnmower in and out of the shed. You'll see more of that, I'm sure, in a subsequent video. Well, we've been really lucky with the weather lately. It's been boiling hot, in fact, too hot in some cases. I'm at the stage now, as you can see, the frame is down and I'm about to put the OSB on. I'm going to put a sheet of plastic over this frame before I put the OSB on, and that will help as a damp-proof layer between what's below and what's above. I've actually already put a sheet of plastic down underneath this frame just to stop the weeds coming up, and I haven't made any effort to secure it at the edges particularly because it's just there for weed suppression. Now, I've remembered to make sure my electricity is coming out exactly where I want it before I started doing the infill here. I have some gravel left over, and there's nowhere I can store it. There's nowhere I can get rid of it, so I'm going to put the couple of barrow loads within the frame. And here in the UK, to get rid of bits of rubble like this, you have to bag it up, take it to the dump, and for every bag you have to pay about £5. And there's enough here to amount to about 5 or 6 bags. So what I'm going to do is, as I put the gravel in here, I'm going to put some bits of this rubble in as well. Now, by doing this, I'm not doing anything environmentally disastrous. It's contained, it's safe, it's not damaging the environment in any way whatsoever. Now, in the next video, I will be starting on the framework. I'm going to start by producing the two ends, and then I'll do the two sides, which will be very easy. And once I've got one end done, that end shape will be my pattern for everything else that follows. Many thanks for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.